I would just like to welcome everybody to this Friday's briefing for the Inclusive Entrepreneurs online. Lovely to see everybody. I'm going to just very briefly introduce myself. Obviously, you've got the slide, so that will give you the majority of the information about me. But I'm Jacqueline Winstanley, the founder and CEO of Universal Inclusion and the Inclusive Entrepreneur. My whole career has been around reducing inequalities, and what I would say is actually increasing equality of access to life's opportunities, in this instance, particularly within entrepreneurship. I have a portfolio career. I also have a number of non-exec and executive roles, ambassador roles, and also in terms of chairing advisory boards, and all of that's listed for you. Start off first of all with a pre-recorded introduction of Monzo. Thank you.
My name is Montaneo and I have cerebral palsy. I would like to run a business selling silk and woolen flowers to start off with and then expand my business further. Before lockdown, I had managed to secure a cabin at a garden centre to start selling my flowers from. I was in discussions with the owner and I was planning to start using the cabin in April. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, both the garden centre and the wholesalers I was purchasing my products from had to close. Also, I was trying to apply for access to work, but due to the coronavirus, they have stopped accepting applications. To overcome the difficulties the coronavirus has caused for me, Jacqueline is going to help me with my access to work application. I also need to start purchasing flowers and selling from the garden centre as soon as I can. In the meantime, I am looking at ways I could start selling online, which may help me if we have a second wave.
Thank you. It's lovely to see you, Monzo. So, Lady Sharon, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all well today. My name is Lady Sharon Farley Mason. Just call me Lady Sharon or Sharon. It's a bit of a mouthful. I am the CEO of Glamsticks. I am a disabled entrepreneur and have been since 2012. My business is bespoke mobility aids for people with disabilities, whether that be running blades, walking sticks or wheelchair covers. I am expanding my business into other areas now, obviously because of the COVID. I'm also an ambassador for Pink Shoe, and I am a member obviously of Inclusive Entrepreneur, and Jacqueline is kindly my mentor. Thank you.
Very welcome. Steve?
Hello everybody, name is Steve Hopwood. I currently am self-employed as thrift insurer. Is that back to front, I think?
Very nice, very nice.
Which is a bespoke car transportation, collection, delivery service. Anything from an eBay barn find up to a, whatever the customer has. I've had a £30,000 Aston Martin Advantage, I think, or Avant-Garde. I've had a Corvette Stingray V8, 5-litre beast, no power steering, manual, so I was a bit of a beast to get in. I love cars. I always have from very young. So therefore I will treat the customers' cars at the same degree of respect and more than I do with my own vehicles. So hopefully word will get around that this crazy man with one arm, one leg is collecting and delivering cars. I'm also known as the accidental entrepreneur, because if I hadn't had the accident, then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. That's it. Brief.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Steve. And Noreen, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Noreen Cesario, and I am the founder and principal of Market Accents, which is a strategic marketing and communications agency also dealing with enterprise and thought leadership. We basically help companies to find space in which they can excel. In my spare time, I am also a volunteer with a number of organizations. I also am an ambassador for Pink Shoe, and I also work very much in terms of opening up access of markets for entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs, and that is both locally in the UK and globally, where I'm involved in a number of initiatives with the World Trade Organization and the United Nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and we'll go to Oh, Peng, please. Are you okay to introduce yourself formally?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peng. Like Jacqueline, I have been a life fellow of the Royal Society of Art since 2010. I'm the founder of Success London. So it's www.successlondon. Basically, it's a platform created by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. I'm here today because I'm very interested to find out more about inclusive entrepreneurs. It seems like the platform is doing a lot of good work. So I'm here to see, to join in your meeting and find out more about what you do. I can see that you're doing a lot of good work. And my background is in construction. So I deliver and design construction projects. That's my professional background. So in addition to my professional background, I'm a person who is passionate about entrepreneur, creating businesses, and also networking.
Brilliant, brilliant. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Aaron?
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Aaron Hornback. I'm the founder and director of Horizon Health Network. So I look at the health and well-being, a holistic approach for a person. Given my own journey into health and well-being, I'm also not just a personal trainer, I'm a pastor as well. So bring in an element of care and spiritual health there as well. I'm also the health and well-being guru for inclusive, universal inclusion and the entrepreneurs here. So it's good to see everybody. Sorry I wasn't here last week, but I'm here today.
It's lovely to see you. Grant, please.
Hi guys, my name is Grant Logan. I run Ability Today, which is an online platform and support network for the disabled community, which I'm a part of after a motorbike accident 17 years ago. We just recently launched an academy for disabled journalists called the ADJ, which we have students up and down the country from Scotland, Manchester, London, Norfolk, all studying for a certificate in foundation journalism. They are given the platform to report on stories around the world and around the country for Ability Today. So we're ever expanding, and hopefully by September, October, we'll have a team of qualified disabled journalists, which we hope will be able to find placements for within the mainstream media.
It's incredible. That's just so incredible and so very well done, Grant. Okay, thank you. And James, please.
Hi, I'm James. I'm a singer-songwriter from Manchester. I have a hearing loss, a hearing impairment. Recently I've been invited to take part in a commission as part of Manchester History's DigiFest. And the focus of the commission is going to be based around the 50th anniversary of the Chronically Sick and Disabled Persons Act, which was in 1970. And yeah, so that's relatively new. Only got told about that a couple of days ago. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting involved in that, and I'll try and keep you in the loop of like how that develops in the coming weeks.
Amazing, thank you, James. Please remind me later when we talk about the APPG what Lisa Cameron asked about you in the APPGs going forward, in case I forget. Thank you. Mary, please.
Hi, my name's Mary Armitage, and I am an inclusive entrepreneur. I'm currently developing a new product and business in response to the coronavirus era that we're in, with a focus on well-being. I'm currently working voluntarily with women who are experiencing mental health issues relating to lockdown and our current situation. This is over the phone, providing support sessions as part of my development of the business. So thank you for having me. That's me.
I'm always fascinated to hear what you're all doing. Really incredible. The diversity within the network is just remarkable. And again, when we talk about the APPG, you really do all need to be very proud about what you're doing. Okay, so I'm just going to go through what we're going to be looking at today. So again, I'll try to get this right in terms of the Latin pronunciation. Dum spiro spero. Sarah's son gave me a little bit of training on this, so hopefully that was right. So basically, while I breathe, I hope. If you remember, we have the Carpe Diem, we talked a little bit about, the almost like things that it will pass. And obviously now we're very much, in that period of hope, as we are seeing continually around us, areas possibly at risk of being locked down again and new things being put into place because of the pandemic at the moment, particularly around wearing masks. We're going to talk about generic business advice, disability-related support, health and well-being. I'm going to showcase very briefly today an inclusive entrepreneur. Now on this, what I want to do is give a little bit of a, I don't know what to call it really, but kind of like a bit of a health warning. Obviously, each person has their own level of what they consider to be acceptable, artistic, etc. Now, one of our entrepreneurs is heading up a campaign in New York about the need to wear masks. Now, what she does involves a little bit of nudity. It's very tasteful. There is no, you cannot see anything that would be deemed very nude. However, I just want to make sure that at that point, if anybody just wants to come out and come back in, if they're not comfortable with that, please feel free to do that. Don't want to offend anybody at all, but this is one of our entrepreneurs. This is what she's doing, and we felt today, in view of government advice around wearing masks, it was a good way to reinforce that issue. But a little bit of a caveat there that it does involve some nudity. And we're also today going to be doing further planning towards our virtual expo that we'll be hosting in August. And we'll have opportunities for Q&A at the end. So in terms of generic business updates, obviously government business support is continuously changing and responding to the needs of businesses going forward. And as we look towards the possibility of further lockdowns, government does seem to be looking at putting in measures to support people going forward. Obviously, there is still people that are not being supported, and there is a further APPG just got up and running in Parliament. I think they're calling themselves the Excluded. I think that's right, Noreen. And that's basically, I think, particularly businesses coming together where the government measures in response to the pandemic have not necessarily supported those particular individuals. So it'd be very interesting to see how they progress with that, and we will get involved with that and support them where we can. Self-employed income support scheme, again, we reminded everybody last week of the deadline for the first phase of those applications, and also that the second phase is very much linked to being able to evidence some disruption beyond the 14th of July to your business in order to get a second stage payment. We're thinking really things like that are going to be like, for example, they opened beauty salons but restricted services. So there will be some businesses that will be able to say, look, we've been told that we can't do this and that has affected us. Businesses that are possibly going to be coming back into opening, but people aren't yet ready to use those businesses, such as some of the restaurants, pubs, etc. Again, it's possible government may support them, but it's watch this space. It's who knows really. In terms of business loans and cash grants, very much down to whether you fall into the right category. We talked last week of the VAT reduction within the hospitality and tourism sector. I don't know if anybody noticed this week that in terms of the number of chefs that were saying people were booking to go into a restaurant and then just being a no-show. I think this is more than giving somebody £10 to go and have a meal somewhere. People really do need to feel safe, confident in the advice and guidance that they're being given. And the businesses need to feel supported during this time. It isn't business as usual. And possibly what we're going to see is government hopefully responding to how they could support that more effectively. The $2 billion kickstart scheme to create more jobs for young people. Again, the feedback on this is mixed. What we're talking about is possibly, maybe some of this could be used for young people to set up their own business rather than going into an employed position or an apprentice position in a business as businesses are closing. So again, very interesting to see how that's going to go forward. And the latter one on this, and it is starting to impact on people. I remember last week, I think I commented that I felt when I was going out, I was often possibly the only person wearing a mask in certain situations. They're now going to making it compulsory from the 24th of July. So that, again, that's really interesting how that's going to work. If you think as well, people need to be able to afford to have a mask as well. So government needs to put measures in place to actually provide masks for people who don't have the money to be able to afford them themselves. So from my point of view personally, I feel more comfortable in a mask. I feel that it's not just about protecting me, it's respecting other people as well. So I personally am quite comfortable with that. Other people may have their own opinion on that. And that's why we chose to have the entrepreneur we're going to feature today as well. In terms of disability related support, the issues remain the same. Our members and other members of the disabled community tell us repeatedly, for them at the moment, there's a feeling of not necessarily having a voice, not being consulted or considered in the process in terms of planning the economic recovery. There are measures within the Access to Work Award where some of our recommendations have been responded to, some not as yet. But for us, what we think is really positive is the creation of our all-party parliamentary group for Inclusive Entrepreneurship, which had its inaugural meeting yesterday. So for us going forward, this page we won't have as much on. We'll be doing more updates from the APPG because that is very definitely the way we are going to change things. I am just going to take you through some of the recommendations that we made to the Chancellor, and these still stand. So particularly in relation to access to work, we're still asking the Chancellor to suspend the annual cap. If people are limited by their cap in terms of the requirements at the moment, that seems a little unfair. To fast track any new claims. Again, if you recall, at the moment, access to work are fast tracking people who they consider to be key workers and people who are going to be starting an employed position within 4 weeks' time. So to suspend the annual turnover requirement, again, the impact on the economy is widespread, and it would seem unfair to expect inclusive entrepreneurs who are in receipt of the award to meet a criteria that government really know is possibly not going to be, people not going to be able to do. Allow for longer access to the mental health strand of the award. Fast track any applications in respect of ergonomics when working from home. The award period to be extended for 2 years without review. Again, that's a massive administrative process that possibly, in view of maybe the criteria being relaxed, it does seem a little unnecessary. Fast track any additionality claims relating to support workers who are self-isolating or under the new measures could be part of a further lockdown or being contacted to say they've been in contact with somebody who's been tested positive. We're not getting a response on that at the moment. A general recommendation that government recognises and considers the way disabled entrepreneurs particularly manage their complex health conditions as an entrepreneur, and that they consider additional measures to support us which do not require us to give up our Access to Work Award as part of the process. That they amend the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme to recognise the particular needs of the disabled entrepreneur, and the creation of an APPG dedicated solely to inclusive entrepreneurship, which, as we know, had its first meeting yesterday, which is a huge thank you to everybody in respect of this. In terms of events, obviously our podcasts are continuing. Our virtual expo is set for the 21st of August. We had the inaugural meeting of the APPG yesterday, and we've had an initial meeting for the expo planning, and we'll continue with that later in this session. So in terms of the APPG, it was a closed meeting yesterday, but it was a great meeting. We were very fortunate to secure the calibre, I think, of people that are going to be supporting it. So obviously Dr. Lisa Cameron is going to chair. Tanni Gray-Thompson, Baroness Tanni Gray-Thompson, is going to vice chair it. We also have the Right Honourable Baroness Udin and the Right Honourable Earl of Errol and Craig Tracy MP. And as we were finishing the meeting, we were getting news of other MPs that are seeing what we're going to be doing. We'd also like to become officers on the APPG. And just to reiterate for that, so in terms of the secretariat for this APPG, Universal Inclusion is providing the secretariat supported by Pink Shoe. So it's very exciting. It's a culmination of everything that we've been working for. The programme of work that we've put forward was accepted. The secretariat was accepted, and the essence of what we're trying to do, which, to sum it up very briefly, is to, if you remember, we talked about the Sustainable Development Goals and the paradigm shift. So it's changing the conversation. It's starting to move to see entrepreneurs who have protected characteristics as citizens who have rights and protections and are contributing to the economy, not people who are a problem, to have something done to them, but to look to this sector as actually the innovators and people who can help the recovery. So very, very exciting. And we may get another meeting in before the Parliament breaks for recess, but we may not. But we will be sharing with you the programme, which is really exciting over the coming 2 years. And obviously, once those meetings become open, as we've seen, because of the way Zoom makes this so accessible, I'm sure you'll all be taking part in those meetings. So I'd like us to talk about the way that we can achieve equity in this sector. So as I'm going to go through this, if you can keep in mind that these are things we'll be looking at throughout the APPG work programme. So to raise awareness of the concept of inclusive entrepreneurship, people actually don't really know that we're out here and what we're doing. To look at opportunities for innovation and increasing inclusive economic growth. And again, people will often say, what does that mean? And in essence, very simply, if we put it in terms of the people on the call today, Steve trades. Somebody will ask Steve to transport a luxury vehicle. That person may be selling that vehicle, or they may be utilising it themselves. Steve might engage other people. He might acquire fuel to support his business. He's employing a support worker, etc. And each individual almost mushrooms what we call inclusive economic growth. And the more entrepreneurs there are that are doing this, the bigger that economic impact will be. To increase the understanding of government, policymakers and the business sector, the ways in which people who have protected characteristics create enterprise, it is different. And the support that's required and the access to things like finance needs to be done in a different way, in a way that suits the needs of the sector. The removal of barriers to enterprise for people with protected characteristics, whatever they might be. To increase sector-specific business support and academic research in this area. We know there is business support out there, but as we've created for ourselves, we know it hasn't been sector-specific and we need to see more of it. In terms of academic research, there's a lot of good stuff going on, but it's not recorded in academia and we want it to be. If you recall, Universal Inclusion is doing a joint paper with some colleagues in New York. It was really difficult to find any literature to review that has been evidenced academically, despite what everybody's doing. So that's really exciting going forward. To run a programme of events to further inclusive entrepreneurship here and internationally. To increase access to finance, health and wellbeing support. And some of you may have seen today that the FSB, who are going to hopefully be part of the APPG, have released a report about the impact on the Black and ethnic minority community in terms of entrepreneurship and the difficulties that they were facing. What we are seeing is there are some things that are principles that are across the board, but then each individual protected characteristic and the individuals within that sector will have their own issues and their own requirements. What we're trying to do within the APPG, for example, if we're dealing with bays, we want bays to understand that whatever they're doing, they need to consider the full spectrum of protected characteristics. We're trying not to go forward in a silo approach to this. But of course, all of those reports are going to be invaluable and create an evidence bank for when we're speaking with bays. So that's a really interesting piece of work from FSB. We host events with schools and universities and emerging entrepreneurs. We're seeing at the moment that the youth has been devastated by the pandemic, whether they are in college, universities, so we need to engage with them and try to support them going forward. To establish an accelerator programme, which includes mentors, role models, and will culminate in an award ceremony each year within the House of Commons. And to enhance the digital platform for entrepreneurs. And the exciting thing that we'll be looking at is actually working with the stock exchange and possibly an event with the stock exchange around supporting entrepreneurs with protected characteristics. Before we move on to our entrepreneur, can I give people an opportunity who feel they would rather not see this section, just to kind of maybe put yourself on, so take your audio off, your video off, and maybe come back on in perhaps about 3 to 4 minutes, if that's okay. Everybody, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that before we go on to the next slide. If people don't want to see this, please do take it away from your view at the moment. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is introduce you to Nopoa's work. So Nopoa, some of you will know Nopoa. Nopoa is a singer-songwriter. She's done a number of events within Universal Inclusion, and she's in the process of writing a musical in New York, which we'll hope to see on Broadway one day. What Nopoa has sent us today is Nopoa has started a campaign in New York to encourage people to understand why they need to wear a mask and to encourage them to do so. So again, please take this in the spirit it's intended. It is a very tasteful piece of artistic expression in Nopoa's campaign. So I'm not sure if anybody did step out of that, but if you did, then please do come back in now. So I do hope nobody was offended. I think it has been done within, how can I word this, with the right sentiment, and it's one of a series of similar things that Nopoa is doing, and it is encouraging people to wear masks in New York, which obviously, if you're aware, New York was really badly hit and the death rate in New York was phenomenal. So yes, there you go. In terms of wearing masks, the government has brought that in, and it will no longer be an option for people to, decide whether they will or they won't. And I did see earlier that it does look like there's going to be an announcement later today around some stricter measures and possibly further lockdown going forward. So it's going to be really interesting to see what's happening going forward. Okay, now I'm going to move very swiftly on to our health and well-being guru, Aaron, yes, so a switch of tone, I think, is what's needed now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, today, I'm back this week, I've been thinking a lot about happiness and the importance of happiness. And one of the things that a mask does is it covers up your face. And so one of the things you might want to do is maybe get a mask that puts a smile on your face. But I think it's important that in this time, I mean, I don't know about you, but emotions have been up, they've been down, they've been all around as the lockdown has been rolling on, and then with things easing up and having that ability to do things right. It is a bit of a sad state in the world where a mask can make such a big palaver in the world, especially where I come from. But I was thinking about happiness and the importance of being happy. should not be based upon the circumstances around you, but based upon you as a person. And I was thinking about the movie that starred Will and Jaden Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness. If you've seen that film, it's of a man, Mr. Gardner, who was trying his best to make it, and his entrepreneurial business skills were failing him, his marriage was failing him, and he found himself homeless with his son, struggling, and he was trying all he could to find happiness. And he thought, well, if I can climb the corporate ladder, I can make it. There was a scene where he's seen this guy with this flash car in front of this big building, and he was thinking, this man is so happy, and everyone coming out of this big business, I think they were in stocks trade, and in his pursuit of happiness, he found that happiness wasn't found externally; it was actually found in himself. And so I want to just touch on that, we are coming into a situation where I personally am happy that the government is saying wear a mask, because at the end of the day, it's not about me and my opinion, it's about others around me, and ensuring that that those who may not feel comfortable in the world that we're in at the moment has that measure of feeling safe and comfortable. But you can still choose to be happy regardless if what we feel personally doesn't match what maybe society is saying at the moment. And so, here's the thoughts. Number one, you have to choose to be happy. It's very important that you have to every day say, you know what, I'm going to choose to be happy, and not let your happiness be dictated or based upon others, either others making you happy or you making others happy. That happiness has to come from a place where it's for you and from you. And so I want to encourage you. It's great that the new little slogan, Dum Spiro Spero, a Spiro Spero, while I breathe, I hope. And I think that's so important, because it's something I've been reflecting on this week, is the importance of making sure that that which we do isn't just based on optimism, but based on hope. Because optimism is hoping for reality to be, for example, driving down the road and you get a green light every single time. You don't have to stop in the red light. But it's that concept of, even though there might be a stoplight and I can't go as fast or as quickly as I want, there's another foundation to it, that I will get to where I'm going. But it's about how I take that journey. Do I take that journey emotively, where I'm upset all the time, or do I choose to be happy? And so I want to encourage all of us. Now, many of us have been through some struggles and faced a lot of different obstacles, but I want to encourage you, and I've seen it, in universal inclusion and the entrepreneurs, the inclusive entrepreneurs, that there is a happiness that can actually be deeper than just a smile or a mask that we put on our face. So I want to encourage you all, as I encourage myself, pursue happiness in this time.
Thank you, Aaron. Wise words as always. So I think this would be a really good point now to take a photo, Noreen. Now, I don't know if anybody did remember to bring a mask with them today, because it may be that we'd like to wear a mask and have our photo for posterity. If you haven't, that's fine. So how many of you actually brought a mask?
I've got a mask, but I can't actually put it on.
That's fine. We can just hold them. And I'm just wondering whether Sarah can do a screenshot, or because I know it. Oh, actually, if Noreen gets your mask on, you'll be fine. I don't know if Grant's going to come back on or not. We'll see. So I'm going to put mine on. That's great, Monzo. I'm loving that.
I like the colour of that, Jacqueline. Wow.
Well, I'm trying. I'm not sure if I've got it upside down, but never mind. I think it's quite good to get something like this, just to look back on to how we were. Perfect, Peng. I just want to give Grant an opportunity if he is going to come back on.
Sorry, the only trouble I have, my glasses are steaming up.
It's all right. We'll do it really quickly, Sharon. So I think we'll get I think we've got who we're going to get. You ready? Thank you, Noreen. Thank you so much, everyone. I think that was really, it's good to just look back on this time, I think, as well, and then we're not looking back and thinking, oh, we should have had one with a mask on. And this weekend is the appropriate one to do it, I think. Okay, so if you remember, usually we have an event in Liverpool at St George's Hall, and obviously we're not coming out to play in that way as yet. But what we are going to do is very new for us, is to have a virtual expo using Zoom. And we have the date set for this. So that's our thoughts at the moment. So it's going to be a lot of work over the next few weeks. So, you know, I know you're always so great in putting in the time and effort to do this. So that's really good. What's going to be really beneficial, and we're going to go on to the next slide in a minute, is the fact that we have now set up the APPG. So if we go on to the next slide, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about how that will hopefully benefit us as we're trying to do the expo. So whilst you're watching this is just to show you what we showed at the APPG. So I know you couldn't all be present, but just to reassure you, you know, we haven't done this just so we can go there and go, oh, we're brilliant. This is what we showed in the APPG yesterday, because it's really important at every opportunity to showcase what you're doing. So, launched yesterday. You should be very, very excited and very proud that this has been launched. So this is the logo, etc., for the APPG. There are, you know, I'm learning, there are things that we have to get our head around in terms of parliamentary protocols and things. But the biggest thing about this is people want to be involved. We've already this morning had FSB express a desire to get involved in the APPG, and other organisations will. Dr. Lisa Cameron has already compiled a letter, the Secretary of State for Bays, in terms of changing the narrative and raising all of the issues that we presented to her. So this isn't going to be an APPG that just meets and talks. This is an APPG that's really going to change things and make, not just remove the barriers, but actually assist us to grow the economy, because that's what it's about. Okay, so what we will probably do is link the APPG with the Expo. And in doing so, what I'm hoping is that will enable Dr. Lisa Cameron as chair to speak maybe on the panel, and other, even though Parliament will be in recess, MPs will be back in their constituencies, and we may get some of the people we are wanting to hear what we have to say to join our panel because of the APPG that we've set up. So that is really exciting. Okay, so anybody got any questions about the Expo at the moment? Yes, Steve?
I've got my website for Swift and Share, but my new venture in inspirational motivational speaking, how do I promote that?
Well, I think this is what we're going to help you with, so that your showcase, we will make sure that if you haven't got social media, how can we get you to that point? So that at the point you kind of open your store, so to speak, at the Expo, all of that has been looked at, and we'll work with you on that.
Right.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, Monzor. Do you want to text me a question? Right, Monzor asked a question around whether people could pre-order. So, for instance, his business is in its early stages, and obviously the expo will look at all of that, Monzor. So yes, there will be opportunities for people, if they're interested in what you do, to place pre-orders. Noreen, do you want to answer that as well?
I was actually going to just put a comment down. Could I suggest to everyone that you make a list of what is worrying you that you think about in the next few days? Just forward them to Jacqueline, and then I can sit down with Jacqueline and we can find the best way to assist you with them. So like Manzoor, I don't know if you actually have a place to take orders or that they can buy from you. So we may need to find an easy way to do that for you without complicating matters. So Steve, same thing. So I suggest just take a few days out and list everything down and send them over to Jacqueline, and we'll pick that up.
Right, okay, so that almost concludes today's session, but does anybody have any questions about anything else that we've discussed today before we end the session?
I just want to say something well done to everybody involved on getting the APPG to where it needed to be. You've done a fantastic job, and you do need that pat on the back, Jacqueline and Noreen, because you've worked really, really hard, and you do need to take that praise. I know you don't like to, but you do need to take it. Well done, and thank you from I'm sure all of us, thank you so much for doing it.
Well, thank you for that. I know I don't take praise lightly, so thank you though. But you know, I'll pass it back, because I couldn't do it without you. This is a team effort. You know, we're doing this together. But I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, so
because it allows us to work with other entrepreneurial organisations, with other King's College, for instance, University of Liverpool. It really will broaden the network in ways that we knew it could. But it's ironic, isn't it, that COVID has just pushed this on so quickly for us.
Yeah, sure. I'm interested in what sorry, Jacqueline, I cut you off then. I'm interested in what the FSB come up with, because as you know, I'm a member of the FSB. So, yeah.
Well, we know in the past we've asked them to consider this issue. And, you know, they have just produced this report. So whether they become part of the research, one of the work programs is obviously to do an academic report. And also Dr. Cameron's very keen to have a parliamentary inquiry as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, all of these organisations can contribute equally, sponsorship, etc. So it really is very, very exciting times. And for those of you that I know at the start of the pandemic were really very, very distraught and very concerned about business and way forward and everything, I do hope that this does make you feel a little bit that there is light, or more than light, at the end of the tunnel. This is massive, and you know, it's great to be part of it.
Yeah, Steve's just asking what the FSB is. It's Federation of Small Businesses, like Peng's just put up. They're quite good, actually. They can give you some support legally as well. You know, you subscribe to it yearly. But yeah.
The FSB are the people that got the government to do the self-employed income support scheme. They are the membership is huge, and they really do lobby government. So, you know, they are, I've got to be honest with you, I think this area for them, particularly around disability and entrepreneurship, they have found difficult, and they openly acknowledge that. But they've got a very good team at the moment dealing with this. And again, we've already got relations with Lena, who's part of FSB. And the conversation I had with them this morning, they're very keen to be involved going forward. So, you know, we will help them as well. This is going to be a two-way process, but they definitely have the membership to support requests that we put to government. You know, it was really interesting in those very early days. If you remember in the news, it was constantly FSB representing the self-employed, and they did get government to move on their response to this. They will say not far enough still, and they're still lobbying, but they do. You know, there's a lot of power in people.
They are effectively the largest body in the UK speaking on behalf of small and medium businesses, in the same way that you have the Confederation of Industries speaks for corporate. So that's the way the government deals, FSB and the CBI. So that's how big they are. They're massive, and they are all over the UK. So the reach is big.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jacqueline.
And you know, what might come from this is we might get associated membership or something with them. There's lots of ways of doing this going forward, but very exciting. James, I just want to make sure you don't think I forgot, because what I had wanted was I hope you picked up what I was wanting to talk to you about in terms of the APPG was the possibility if you would consider performing, not just at the expo, but also at one of the APPGs as well. Dr. Cameron was particularly keen to extend that offer to you, which would be great.
Yeah, sure.
Good. Any further questions, Peng? Very interested to hear a bit more about your organisation, and if you have any desire to get involved with the APPG, then you know, please come back to us on that. Okay, lovely. All right then. Well, if nobody's got any further questions, it's great to see everybody, and look forward to seeing you, well, hearing from you all in the next few days, and seeing you all next Friday. So thank you so much, everybody.